like Unilever, Wow Skin Science, Mama Earth. And he's being held in conversation with Gokul Das K, who's our head of digital marketing in Razorpay. So if you had to hear two expert people talking about how to benefit from Google Ads for the festive season, I can't think of any two most expert people than these two. Hold your horses. We have them coming up in a minute. On to you guys.
Hi everyone, welcome to today's session. Hope you all are having a great day. Today we are here to discuss our session on conquering the festive frenzy and driving business growth with Google Ads. If you are a business which has just started into Indian market today, for sure Google Ads would have been your go-to ad platform to advertise your business and kickstart your journey. Today, Pushkar and Gokul will take us through a detailed conversation on how we can utilize Google Ads to maximize our business growth during the festive season. Now, before we get started, I have a few poll questions for you. Let's see how many of you get these right. One coming onto your screen just now. I'll just read it out for everyone. Couple of days back, the iPhone 15 launch was announced. This led to an uptick in iPhone related searches. Can you guess what has been the top trending iPhone search? All right, a lot of people are focusing on iPhone 15 price here. Camera is quite underestimated here. Guys, iPhone is a lot about camera. Don't you think there would be a lot of searches around that? And be mindful, I've said top trending iPhone searches and not exactly iPhone 15 search. All right, a lot of votes kicking in. Awesome. I'll just quickly announce the results now. So the right answer is none of the above. People have not been searching about iPhone 15. They have been searching about iPhone 13 price. Because right after the iPhone 15 launch, Apple slashed the prices of iPhone 13 and iPhone 14, and iPhone 13 price has been trending all along. Just 20,000 more searches yesterday. Imagine the value seeker in all of us just jumped onto the opportunity here. Shall we do one more? We have one more poll coming right your way on your screen right now. I'll just read it out for all of you. What percentage of e-commerce sales in the last festive season was contributed by Tier 1 markets? When I say Tier 1 markets, I mean all the metro cities and the Tier 1 cities in India. All right, a lot of you are saying it's 55%. Very few are saying 80%. All right. Awesome. A lot of votes have kicked in already. So the right answer here is 25%. 75% of the e-commerce sales in last year's festive season were actually contributed by Tier 2, Tier 3, and beyond markets. That is quite interesting. We would imagine that a lot of urban population in India is sitting here in Tier 1 cities, and this is where the majority of e-commerce sales would come in. But nevertheless, you should never underestimate the rest of the India market here as well. On that note, Gokul, I'll hand it over to you. Let's get started.
Cool. Thank you so much, Shubham, for setting that context. Great, very good afternoon, everyone. Wonderful seeing all of you joining today in this session. Today, I'm super excited to welcome you all to this masterclass where we will dive into the world of digital marketing during the festive season. Like Shubham mentioned, our topic of the day is conquering the festive frenzy and driving business growth with Google Ads. And we have a distinguished expert here to share his insights with us. We have Pushkar Gupte. He heads the CPG and D2C industry businesses at Google. Pushkar, warm welcome to the Razorpay D2C Sparkx Event.
Thank you, Gokul. Honored to be here.
Great. So Pushkar has close to 2 decades of experience in helping tons of businesses, big and small. He has worked with legacy brands like Unilever, and he led brands like Dirt is Good. He also manages new age brands like Wow Skin, Mama Earth as part of his Google journey. Pushkar has worked with businesses of all scales. With his insights, you are about to learn how to make this festive season the most successful one for your D2C business. Along with Pushkar, I am Gokul Das. I head the digital marketing team at Razorpay. I have about 13 years of experience in digital marketing industry. I have worked with brands such as Swiggy, Yoga Bar, Ogilvy in the past and played an integral part of their growth journey. Well, that's great. With that, I'm kicking off. Pushkar, like all we know that we're talking about not business, not as usual. We're talking about festive marketing. We're talking about sales season, etc. Right? To set the stage, Pushkar, what's your thoughts on why festive marketing is fundamentally different from regular marketing campaigns, and how businesses should approach it?
Uh, uh, I think we all know that Google search almost mirrors the kind of behavior that our consumers end up showing, right? If you look at search trends across the last few years, every single time there is anything festive, the interest just spikes up, and it's not just product search, right? So, like Shubham was saying, if it's iPhone 15 that has gotten launched, it's not necessarily a linear behavior of just searching for iPhone 15. It's also iPhone 13 which pops up. But interestingly, it's the behavior that matters. Festive is all about food, for example. Festive is all about going out, meeting your friends, family, and therefore wanting to look good. You want your festive look just about right. You you want to do a lot more around festive. I mean, who amongst us have not shopped for new things, new clothes, new appliances, or anything else just around the festive period? It's an event in itself, and
Yeah.
that entire behavior chain really comes out to play online. What has changed over the last few years is while all of these behaviors always existed, they would have existed purely in an offline sort of an environment, and we would have gone to a store to try and make that a decision. There would be sales which would be running in a certain period of time, a week that the prices are off, that you go in and buy things. Today, the shopper journey has changed significantly, and even if you might end up buying something offline, 9 out of 10 consumers actually have their purchase cycle starting online. And that kind of behavior, starting to look for things, again, it's multi-touch point. So it's not just Google search. You want to hear what your favorite influencer has to say about the product. You want to look at different videos to find what the new trends are. You would look at recipe videos, for example, to get the best kaju katli recipe that you need for a festive. So the behavior around the festive season just spikes up on multiple different touch points. And can you predict all of that behavior? No, because trends definitely change. But you want to play around in that festive period. So how do you maximize your opportunities just before the festive period starts off? How do you maximize your opportunities during that spike? And then how do you let people come out of the festive hangover? Is where there's a lot to be done on digital, because you can change things on the go, unlike being just offline, where things would be far more rigid. The consumer isn't rigid anymore. They move around, they change their ways of seeking information, their touch points, decision making, and that's where brands have a huge opportunity to play online and get good sales for themselves.
100%, 100%. I think completely agree with you. I think the whole search trends and it's an emotion, right? It is an emotion that drives this whole thing, and everywhere, every consumer is online. That drives this whole business, right? Just to add on to that, right, Pushkar, in your experience, what are some of the most common misconceptions or pitfalls that restricts businesses from maximizing their business growth during the festive season?
I think one common a bit, and I'll say this for brands which are starting off, right? For brands which are legacy brands, these guys have been running advertisements for years and years and years and years. So for most consumers, especially if you're my age, if you're younger, you may not have heard of some of these brands, but brands like Surf Excel or Colgate, etc., have always been in the public domain, right? And therefore, people know about it. However, for newer brands, if you start looking only at lower funnel activity to drive sales for you based on your brand terms, etc., you are constricting the kind of demand that you are catering to. Instead, it's always better to open up your funnel, get more people in at the top of the funnel, make sure that they are aware of your brand, and then use performance marketing to bring them down the funnel and convert them. So
Absolutely.
how you define your audience and how you define your funnel can actually make or break in the number of sales that you are able to get, or the number of purchases that you are able to get. The temptation always is to do things only at the bottom of the funnel, because there is a very clear link between money that you are spending and the results that you are getting. But brand building is always a long-term activity, and it can only happen if you take people down the funnel, if you get them to connect to your brand at some stage. And I mean, this is true irrespective of whether it's festive period or otherwise. uh, you need to take people through the journey, and those journeys can be 2 seconds in length, those journeys can be 3 weeks in length, depending on the kind of product. But for sure, there is a journey. People move from being aware of the brand, inquiring about the brand, knowing about the brand, and then purchasing it. So how you define your audience and how you define the space that you're going to play in with can actually make or break the outcomes for you.
Absolutely. I think it's one of the big takeaway that I'll take away thing. Not just look from a bottom funnel perspective, look at everything from a full funnel perspective. Build your awareness, build your TG from the very beginning onwards, and kind of move them to the bottom funnel at point in time when the sales is live. Great. I think that's a great input. Just moving on from there, Pushkar. I think one of the key factors that I always think when it comes to festive marketing is the consumer behavior itself that you talked about in terms of search trends, right? And it that factors that differentiate festive is the consumer behavior itself, right? If you could shed some light on how consumer behaviors evolves during this phase, and how should business make use of these changes, upticks, and trends that happening during this time?
So I think in general, what has happened with markets today is that there is a new reality in terms of how people are looking at retail today. There is a part of shopping which is intentional, and you plan to purchase something, right? So if, let's say, I have to buy a car or a bike, it's not going to be a spur of moment decision. It will be there will be a starting point to it, saying that I need to upgrade my vehicle or I need to buy a new vehicle. There will be a research journey to it, and then you'll end up purchasing it. Again, this journey is going to be omni-channel in nature, right? You're not going to make a decision just by looking at reviews online. You want to touch and feel the product. You want to test drive it before you get there.
Right.
Equally, because of how the economy has changed, the focus on value seeking has gone up significantly. And this is not just cost seeking, it is value seeking. So getting the most value out of the purchases that consumers are bringing in is coming up. And therefore, if you have promotional events, if you have sales, consumers do keep their eye out for it a lot more than they used to. And that's what we are seeing with the Google search data now.
Okay.
In fact, in a lot of categories, what we've seen is that 50% plus Indian shoppers have made their last purchase during a sale or a promotional event. So they are becoming far more value conscious than they used to. In fact, if I look at data for 2022 for sale, deal, offer related searches, then second half of the year actually had 50% higher searches with sale information being sought than the first half. Now, of course, it's skewed because there's a lot of festive period that happens in the second half of the year for us. There's a lot of sales promotions, etc., that end up happening during that time period. So that's where we see a lot of consumer behavior that shifts towards getting the best value out of it. So there are planned purchases which will happen around the festive period in any case, and how you win in that decision-making process is critical to the brand. The more higher involvement the category or higher involvement the brand, you being available or positioned across the multiple touch points that the consumer is going to can help make the decision in your favor. And these touch points can be both online and offline in nature. There's no only online purchase journey or only offline purchase journey that exists anymore. It's completely messy. People shift between online, offline, influencers, search, etc., 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 to try and get that journey. Equally, on the purchases which are not necessarily so planned, how do you again be available in these touch points that the consumer is naturally going to be on, and how do you build your brand with these consumers to get the sale is going to be critical. Lastly, festive behavior is linked very strongly to value. So if you have your promotional offers, etc., being planned, they're best to do it around the festive period and make that information available to consumers so they make the choice in your favor.
Understood. This is very insightful. And you talked about the touch points, right, Pushkar? Like now, how brands, how can brands make you figure out these touch points? And there are tools like Keyword Planner, Reach Planner, Google Trends and Analytics. That is to name a few from Google, right? How can business utilize these tools to better understand these and predict these behaviors for their brands? And how can they make use of such tools?
So it's great that you mentioned these tools because these start to at least put down some kind of pen picture of the consumers, right?
Yeah.
So the Insight Finder on Google AdWords, for example, will give you a perspective on what their affinities are, what their in-market behaviors are, what kind of content they consume, and it's also important to define your audience crisply. Because if I say my audience is everybody in India, you're not going to get a sharp enough differentiation for that audience. But if you put in some kind of qualifiers to it and get the right definitions, you'll be able to get spikes in certain places. You might see, say, if you look at the younger audience, you might suddenly find gaming as a content genre spiking up significantly. And you know that that's where you can play around and get those consumers in, right? You should definitely look at direct interactions with consumers as well, because knowing your consumer has absolutely no substitute. And once you know the kind of genres that they visit, the kind of hobbies, interests that they have, the kind of behaviors that they exhibit, you'll be able to start putting down the touch points that consumers are going to be available at, right? YouTube, for example, today is at 84 minutes plus on a daily basis across almost 500 million consumers who are logged in. So there's a huge amount of time that people are spending just on YouTube, and that's one platform. There's other platforms that they end up spending a lot of time on as well. Be where your consumer is a marketing truth that has not changed from the offline era to the online era. What has changed is if the number of touch points were X in the offline era, because of the online explosion and the multiple choices that are available to consumers, the number of touch points has gone up significantly. Therefore, identifying the ones which are most important to you and have a fit with your brand imagery or brand message, and then distilling the message on those touch points with consumers is critical.
Got it. Fair. Great point that. Great. Thanks for that. Just now moving to the most commonly used term in the last 1 year, right? AI. And for Google, AI is not something new. And people who have worked closely with AI with Google for in the last few years, last few decade, I know that Google has been implementing AI into the Google Ads for about 7-8 years, right?
Yeah.
And but in the recent times, performance max have come up very strongly that associate with the AI. And given the rise of, my question is, given in the rise of AI in marketing, what role can we expect Google Performance Max as a campaign unit will play in maximizing the growth of businesses?
I'll just go back to what I was saying earlier is in the festive period specifically and in general, because of the number of touch points expanding and because of the consumer journeys becoming very messy, for want of another word, it's not always easy to predict what a consumer journey is going to look like. There might be somebody who starts with a YouTube video, goes to Google search, goes to a store, might see something on social media, might do something else. Those behaviors are completely unpredictable. They can be different with different consumers.
Absolutely.
To plan for these behaviors manually and have a campaign type that goes behind every single behavior, if you are able to do that, then I want to apply for a job in your company because you must be one of the best people that exist anywhere. But those few people will be very rare. For most normal folks in a business, beyond a point of time, just keeping up with multiple consumers doing multiple different things is going to be difficult. And that's where you have the advantage of using AI, Google AI in particular in this case, to let the machines also do some work for you. Because as long as you're clear about what your criteria are, as long as you're clear about what return on ad spend you want, what your budget is going to be, and what you're optimizing for. If you're optimizing for sale on your D2C website, that's very clear to have that. It could be optimizing for maybe just add to carts, or it could be optimizing for visits to your website. You define what your valuable goal is. But as long as you've defined that, as long as you've defined the uh, margin that you are willing to work with, the return on ad spend that you're willing to work with, just put those machines to work. And in my experience, and because I work mostly with legacy companies, the most difficult thing to convince advertisers or marketeers is don't touch the campaign. Once you've put it in, just let it be and let the campaign learn for a little period of time and let it find its own way. The more tweaks we make to it while the campaign is in the learning phase, it will get mixed signals, and it will lead to much worse results than you would have gotten by letting the campaign be. Yeah. Now, all of this is great to say, but what is important, and I had said this earlier, is you have to play the full funnel. If you are a small brand today that a lot of consumers don't know about, you'll play in a very narrow funnel. You need to find the positioning that is right for your brand and ensure that you widen the mouth of the funnel so that you get more people coming into the funnel, which can then be brought down to the conversion stage. So some core principles of marketing, whether in the offline era or online era, don't change. What does your brand stand for? What does it need to do? And what adjacent areas that the brand plays in is an important definition to have. And how you then build your brand, there are multiple ways of doing it. But don't narrow it purely for a view on short-term profitability. A slightly longer-term view means that you have to play the full funnel and get consumers going down the funnel.
Got it. Great. I think completely agree with you. I think Performance Max is the one campaign that I believe that it kind of maximize the reach across multiple inventories, not just one, be it search, display, YouTube, etc. And like I think there is insights like I think key takeaways that you should everyone in the session should consider is look at full funnel, make them ensure that they are reaching through the multiple inventories. Also ensure that it gives enough time for the AI to kind of make the magic for you, be it whatever objective that you're chasing. Absolutely agree.
And just to add to that, Gokul, I mean, while Performance Max is one product type, and you rightly said that it goes across multiple different formats, that essentially optimizes for the multiple different Google platforms that a consumer might end up being. And if I take my own example today, I've used Google Search, I've used Google Chat, I've used Google Maps, I've used YouTube. So I've used Gmail. So without even realizing it, half the day through, I've used at least 5 products. Now, these are 5 different opportunities to find me if I am a valuable consumer. And rather than set up 5 different campaigns to do it, to have a single unified AI-backed machine to do it for you makes a lot of sense. Similarly, we're building in AI capabilities into other products. So on search, for example, we know that there are specific terms that advertisers have always bid on. But because consumer behavior changes, and in a market like India, the queries that get typed and the queries that get said are not necessarily in Queen's English, right? I mean, there was an example which was going around where a menu had the appetizers written, but the spelling would have taken you 2 takes to figure out that it is actually appetizers, right? And that's how people type in. But if you leave it to the machine learning system on broad match, for example, then it is able to understand what you are going after, and similar sounding or similar space sort of queries also get tackled, which again allow you to increase the broad funnel that you are going after. And you have similar sort of AI inputs into video campaigns as well. So if you want to go on to YouTube and max it across different kinds of formats like bumpers or non-skip ads or skippable ads, shorts, etc., you have these products to do it for you rather than try and reinvent the whole wheel.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you don't have to create multiple ads, multiple campaigns, different set of video duration. All of that is being taken care of one go. and it depends upon what is the user preference, where is he, what device he use. It's kind of optimize it 100%. Agree. Just extension of that, right? While PMAX Performance Max is one of the campaign unit that we talked about, how we should look at other ad campaign types such as be it search or YouTube or discovery. While some of them are, all of them are part of PMAX, but it's also has its own campaigns that stands alone. It plays an important role during these seasons, right? How should brands look at these campaign units along with performance? And what's your thoughts on that?
So this I might say as a old-time CPG marketeer. So forgive that coming out from inside me. But building awareness and building that emotional connect with consumers is absolutely critical. And if you see the most successful brands, they've they've all built out some kind of connect with consumers. Very few brands now purely work on the functional aspect of it, right? There is something that builds a deeper connection. There is something that brands stand for, right? I used to work on Surf Excel, and for us, if an ad didn't show a kid getting dirt on his or her clothes while doing something good, then it's not a Surf Excel ad. And over time, that starts to stand for something that the brand comes in for.
Right.
So you need to find ways of building that connect with consumers over a period of time. And you might define your consumers tightly. If budget is a constraint, you don't need to target everybody in Bombay, for example. You don't need to target all India. You might just go behind a much tighter audience that makes sense for your brand. But start doing activities which build the brand in their mind. And you could do this with video. You could do this with a set of 6-second assets as well. You could do it with a 1-minute asset. You could do it with a 20-minute asset. So multiple ways of doing it. And that's where creative thinkers or creative agencies can also come in and drive it for you. But do have a perspective on how you build the brand in consumer minds, and then also use that alongside performance marketing products to pull people down the funnel. Because again, at the risk of repeating myself again and again, if you don't have that connect, your brand is likely to be a short-term player. If you're in it for the mid to long run, then having a purposeful eye on also building something at the top of the funnel and therefore thinking full funnel is absolutely important.
Very, very critical. Very, very important to build that connect and how you make use of videos or be it a discovery as a channel, right? I think a lot of incremental reach that you drive from that particular channel beyond display and YouTube need to be made use to kind of build that top funnel, and how do you use search or PMAX to kind of convert at the end is super critical to look at channels in such a way. Great insight. Thanks so much for that, Pushkar. Now, just going a little traditional within digital, right? I think we talked about AI, all of that, but in my mind, remarketing is still one of the key critical campaign type that plays a lot of role in be it creating a relevant reach within the existing customers or existing visitors, or maybe boosting the purchases by closing the loop. Remarketing plays a lot of role, and it is a very key aspects of any marketing brand. Right? What is your take on this, and how should business approach remarketing during this festive or sales seasons?
If you have your D2C website, or if you have a platform where you're getting consumers and you want to target them again, dynamic remarketing is an absolute must, right? So if you get your tag on your website and ensure that it is done correctly, it is functioning. In my mind, dynamic remarketing is the beating heart of any D2C website, because like I was saying earlier, consumer journeys have become really messy, and it's not as if the first time that they come to your website, they're going to end up buying and move out of it. There is a period of consideration. There is a period of thinking whether I should make that purchase or not. And more so if it is a slightly more high involvement sort of a category or a brand. If it's a small purchase, then sure, people will buy it and move on. But if it needs a bit of involvement, it will take time. How do you get somebody who's already expressed interest and made the effort of coming to a platform that you own? How do you get that person back? How do you goad that person back to make the purchase which is right for him or her? Is where remarketing comes in. And therefore, having that dynamic remarketing to drive it again on an automated basis is absolutely critical. You can have remarketing campaigns based on audience lists that you generate and populate, but having it done in a dynamic way again lets you target the consumer where they are. Quite often, and I'm sure all of us would have seen this, the moment you drop off an e-commerce website having seen a particular product and you read an article or you check the scores like I do on Cricinfo, you will find the same product following you everywhere, reminding you that you've seen this. Why don't you make that a purchase? Now, it's not a manually set up campaign that can do that. It has to be dynamic remarketing, which targets you in an instant. And that's where the value of remarketing really comes in. So if you have your own platform where you are able to collect data, or if you're able to fire off tags, for sure have dynamic remarketing enabled so that it goes in. It will need hygiene to come in. It will need your merchant feeds, etc., to be completely clean and available so that it can pick up the right products and deliver those ads in a very relevant sort of way. You can create your own custom list. You can use Google Ads automated lists. You can have smart lists via Google Analytics. All of it are options, but for sure do have dynamic remarketing enabled for anything that you do on your platform.
Got it. I hope you all get it. The dynamic remarketing is very, very key. I think to make it personalized and make sure that the customers comes back and continue that journey, be it reading about your product and considering it later, converting it. I think bringing back and keeping that personalization is very, very important. I also believe that remarketing also plays a lot of role in pre-season, right? To pre-festive season, where you kind of create that awareness to the customers who are already aware about your product, right? I think that's also one way to kind of use remarketing. But great, thanks a lot for that insight, Pushkar. And I'm just moving on from there, right? I'm certain that you have also at Google would have encountered numerous case studies about how brands use Google for festive season, right? Are there, or is there any particular case study that you have in your mind could discuss with our young brands here to learn how to leverage Google Ads?
So look, I think all that we've spoken so far are things that we've seen multiple clients do, right? Using the festive opportunity, having the right kind of spaces to go behind, right? If I'm a foods brand, for example, then you should be all over the festive food content that's there on YouTube, for example. It makes a lot of sense to own that kind of content. Interestingly, I think while iPhone 15 was launched yesterday, if you open up any tech blogger YouTube channel in these days, I think yesterday, today, and maybe even tomorrow, it starts off with a competitor product promoting themselves. So every review of iPhone 15 actually has a Samsung ad that plays before that video comes in. So it's about selecting a space that you know is going to be relevant and then owning that space as well. Now, of course, there will be budget constraints here if the brands are smaller. Some big brands have the luxuries of doing a lot more. But again, identifying the right kind of creators or touch points where you can come in and land the message seamlessly. So as long as your brand proposition and the touch point or the creator influencer are in an aligned sort of a space, winning that makes a lot of sense. We've seen a lot of brands try to be very creative with content as well. Lakme, it's a big brand example, but last year they did a show with Ankush Bahuguna called Wing It with Ankush, which was all about novice makeup artist who Ankush is, doing makeup for four ladies of very different backgrounds and spaces that they came in from. And that built the connection for the brand because it was right on the campaign. So maybe you don't need to go all that big every single time, but finding those 5 key creators who can land the same message for you is something which could be key. Apart from that, just figuring out the space that your brand need to operate in and then trying to maximize your touch points there and responses to consumers is what can make a lot of difference.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Pushkar. It's very, very insightful. And I'm sure there's a lot of insights that the audience would have taken away from the discussion, Very, very insightful. Thank you so much for that. Pushkar, we have a few questions lined up from the audience. Can I go ahead and read that out?
Sure.
Cool. So for the first question is, when you say wider funnel, Pushkar, does it mean more clicks translated to bigger ad spend? How can startup with a limited budget do this?
So I don't necessarily mean more ads. All I'm saying is more people being aware of your brand, right? Uh, Typically, I mean, it's called a funnel because what you start off with might be this wide. By the time you end up with conversion, it becomes this thin, right? It is always a reductive journey from somebody who's aware of your brand, somebody who wants to consider buying your brand. Has intent to purchase your brand and then purchases your brand. It is a typical funnel that goes through. So if you start going behind just 100 people, of which 3 will convert, your sales are likely to be just 3.
Yep.
How do you ensure that more than 100 people are aware of your brand? Therefore, those conversion ratios can still apply and you get a significantly higher conversion is quite important. It also will make your lower funnel products work more efficiently. We've seen case studies with established D2C players where branding plus performance done together has given better ROAS and better results than doing just the lower funnel ads standalone. And this is established D2C players that I'm talking about.
Got it. No, just to add to that, right, I think again, it's not wider, it's not huge spends. It's also even in your top funnel, it is not about spending a lot of money in awareness. It's get your right audience, whomever you're talking to, that being setting the right objective or that being setting the right targeting, but also focus a lot on the top bottom funnel to ensure that it does the message gets delivered, it has the right frequency, etc. That is what meant by spending full funnel or not just spending money. Absolutely. Moving on, I think the next question is, this is on a new campaign type that has come up recently by Google, right? How does the new demand gen campaign works during festive time?
Demand gen again is cross platform. It has both video and image ads in one campaign. While Perfmax did not necessarily have video ads coming into play, Demand Gen has video as well. So it goes across YouTube Shorts, it goes across in-stream ads on YouTube, the feed ads on YouTube, the Discover feed where Perfmax anyway had a play, and a Gmail as well. So again, the logic that we spoke about of giving a target to the machine and defining a ROAS, all of it works with Demand Gen. But the advantage is that it also allows you to do video ads, which means that you can start looking at this as approaching at least mid to lower funnel, if not full funnel.
Got it. Fair. Thanks. I have this question very interesting. What were the kind of results Surf Excel saw when Dirt is Good campaign was running?
So I actually worked on Surf Excel India 7.5 years back. So you have to treat it with those pinches of salt. Digital was much smaller. This was all pre-Geo days, right? So it was still around the time when YouTube had about 100 million people. Surf Excel ads have always been endearing to people. So it always did well. We were on a platform called Surf Excel Matix at that point of time. It launched well. Interestingly, today, I'm not sure I can say this without giving out data, but Surf Excel is one of the more evolved users of digital platforms that we see today. It comes from the focus that clients like Unilever also have had on digital learning, digital and upskilling digital. But building awareness on platforms like YouTube is something that a lot of these brands have started doing really, really well.
Got it. Interesting. That's great. Okay, so we have time for one last final question. I'll take this up. For a business which is just getting started on Google Ads now, right? And what are some of the basics that they need to get it right in order to see success in the coming months?
Sorry, could you repeat that,
I'll
Gokul?
repeat that. So the question is basically for a business which is getting started on Google Ads now,
Yeah.
what are some of the basics that they need to get right in order to see success in coming months?
What I'm going to do is there is a playbook that we have, and I'm going to share it with Shubham. If you are a D2C platform that's going to start doing things, focus on the basics first. There are some aspects which we take for granted but are critical, and something as simple as having a very efficient UI UX for consumer is critical, irrespective of how good your product is. Odds are that the platform with a faster UI UX, a cleaner UI UX, and an easier to use UI UX will always end up doing better than somebody who has potentially a better product to sell. Because in today's day and era, and I'm sure all of us exhibit this behavior, if something takes too long to load, I'm not going to wait for it. I will actually exit that site and do something else. Being fast, being efficient is absolutely critical. And a lot of this comes by ensuring that you have all your basics in place. So I'm not even coming to a point where I'm saying that this is how you use Google Ads. I'm essentially saying that when you are designing your platforms, do those right so that you get the best chance of success irrespective of what platform you use, whether it's Google Ads or social media or anything else.
Agree. I 100% agree. I think to add on to that, right? I think in my experience, I think one of the key basics that should and some a lot of brands marketers kind of get missed out is have the right inputs in place, right? Be it setting up a conversion, choosing an objective, what kind of optimization you do. Give the systems the right inputs is the key thing than going on and figuring out how do I run campaigns, what optimization do the basics right and leave it up to systems. So that's the key input that I leave it, and then keep and don't believe and only don't just leave everything to the systems. Also ensure that your landing page and creatives are the best to kind of support that, right? I think if you take care that rest everything flies. That's my take on it. But Pushkar, I think thanks a lot for coming in. I think there are quite a good insights that we could discuss during the last 40 minutes of our time. I hope all the attendees have taken away great insights from this session. Thank you so much for your time. Wonderful.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you. Thanks, both of you.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, I can see that we have so many more people joining us from 3 p.m. I hope you all had your afternoon siesta. I hope you all got a chance to grab a cup of coffee because we've just started. We had the head of CPG and D2C brands at Google Ads to show you how to best leverage Google Ads for the festive season. But that's just the start, folks. What we're having up next this afternoon, right after this at 4 p.m. sharp, is a session with the country head of Shopify, Miss Bharati, who's going to take you through how to best leverage your brand on Shopify for the festive period. Now, Shopify, I think I can speak for all the D2C brands here, is one of the strongest partners for anybody who's on e-commerce. And to make sure that you're using Shopify right, to make sure that you have everything in line for the festive period, stay tuned. It's a 45-minute, fun-filled, insightful-filled session. But till then, I have 4 very interesting questions for all of you all. I'm going to put together 4 different polls, very generic, and I'd love to hear your take on what you think about the festive market. I'm going to start now. All right, so which country is the home to the highest volume of online shopping audience? All right, we have close to 1,000 people answering the poll. I'm going to give it 30 more seconds. India seems to be leading. And this is not just for festive, folks. This is regardless, through the year. Okay, India is still leading. Do you think that it's because India now suddenly is the highest populous country? Okay. 500 people are voting right now. Okay. I'm going to show the results. A whooping 46% of you all have said that India is the leading. Okay. I hate to break it to you all, but it's not. China is the largest leading country of the highest volume of online shopping audience. And I'll tell you the numbers. China has about 900 million online shoppers. India has only about 220 million. But don't worry, we'll get there soon. I mean, we beat them in population, right? We will be expected to hit 350 million online shoppers by FY25. That's approximately 40 million new shoppers every year. Yes, 40 million new shoppers that all of your brands can quickly tap into and add to your customer base. So, no, it's not India, it's China. All right, I'm going to get on to the next poll. And it's live. Which festive season in India typically sees the highest online shopping activity? Okay, we have Diwali. I was just answering one because Diwali is the first option. Okay, somebody's answering Christmas. Why does Holi have no takers? 88%. Okay. Wow, you all really know your market well. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll. And 85% of you all think Diwali, and you all think right. And that's why we're here, right? Yes, it is true. Diwali alone as a festival accounts for close to 40% of all brands' annual e-commerce sales in India. 40% of your entire yearly sales. Is that true for your brand? Is it 40%? Is it less? Is it more? Can I have a quick show of hands or a positive sign? Put up any emoji if it's around 30 to 40%. Okay. All right. So the stats are right. Diwali is your winning market. Okay. Two more questions, and I think we can bounce to the Shopify session. The last one. Which category is the highest selling during the festive season? Somebody's answered electronics. We have fashion coming up as a close second. We also have sweets and snacks. Mithai koi nahi le raha hai? Okay. Fashion. About 400 people voting. Fashion is coming up strong. Electronics is now second. All right, folks. So the winning answer here on our poll today is 48% people have voted for fashion, and unfortunately, that is not true. We have electronics that seems to be the emerging category that sells out through the festive period. Understandable, everything must be new during the festive period. During Diwali, we buy new clothes, but also because a lot of brands have steep discounts on their electronics. Phones sell out like crazy. Smartwatches are the new clothes category that sell out like crazy. So electronics is your winner during the Diwali season. Okay, now the last one is going to be a slightly more personalized one to you all. It's not generic to the market or the category. I'm going to put that up right now. When do you typically start prepping for festive business season? When do you start getting in more help? When do you start planning for inventory, putting your finances in order, ramping up your supply? When do you start decorating your Shopify store? August and September. Somebody actually said I'm always prepared. Amazing. Love the confidence. Okay. We have more people saying that they're more prepared. I love it. Okay. All right. So we have a majority of our audience today preparing during September, which gives you a good 1.5 months. That's a solid prep time. Business to koi aapse seekhe. And then we have August. There are some early prep people as well. who don't want to take any chances and make sure everything is in line. Hats off to y'all. There are a few people in October as well, and then there are some 13% who actually are prepared all year round. Please give us some tips. Leave some in the comments as to what you think can get you most prepared for any eventuality during the festive period, can keep you top of the line when all of that customer demand comes your way. This entire session, this entire 3 days of sharing knowledge from multiple leaders across multiple industries has been to help you all prep for the festive season. But this 13% of saying that I've been prepared always makes me wonder if there's anything that we can possibly learn from you all. So there is an open chat session there. I'd love to hear if there are any pearls of wisdom that you can share with the rest of the audience, anything that we can take away from y'all that can really help us and other brands like you. So please use the chat session and tell us more. Anything, any challenges that you think others may benefit from learning, any foresights, any insights, anything that you think that can help anybody. And we have about 7 more minutes to go for our next session. I already told you that the country head of Shopify, Miss Bharti, is going to take you through 45 minutes of how to make Shopify your best tool for the festive season. But I'd also like to tell you what we have in store for the rest of the evening. We have 5 sessions today, one of which you just sat through. We have Shopify coming up next. Right after that, at around 4:45, we have the 5 festive moves to win Indians globally. And this is going to be headed by Deeptanshu from Nalli Silks. Nalli Silks has been around for decades. I'm sure all of you all have heard the brand. I myself am a huge Nalli Silks fan. My entire family goes and shops there from the festive season. We have a store very close to our house. But what they're going to tell you is how to make the most of moving globally online, right? That's going to be a solid session, after which we're going to have 5 ways to combat abandoned carts for your D2C business. Now, during the D2C festive season, a lot of customers shop a lot of brands. Buying is the mindset that these customers have. But what happens is, due to a lot of reasons, either products are left in the cart, either the network goes down, or they're a little distracted, or maybe they're still contemplating this buying decision. But we help you through this session with 3 top tier brands, Duroflex, Go Noise, and Bella Vita, to tell you how to make the most of that situation and make sure that customer converts. That's a session at 5:30, so make sure you're there. And our last session, last but not the least, to wrap up this evening at 6 p.m. is going to be 5 ways to improve retention for your D2C business. We have spoken full funnel this afternoon, right from grabbing attention with Google Ads of your customers this festive season, to taking you through how your tools can help you best with Shopify, to going global and not just local, and making sure your customers convert. But we don't stop there, because once we convert, we want to make sure they come back next Diwali, right? Which is where retention comes handy. So that's going to be our last session at 6 p.m., where we take you through 5 golden rules on how to best make retention a tool, a very interesting tool to make sure your customers keep coming back. All right, folks, I'm going to quickly switch next session, but you all stay tuned. You all will immediately smoothly drop into the next session. I will see you there.